Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session. My name is Catalina Vladut. I am a young specialist in Bucharest, Romania, and member of Young Talent Group. And today I will be presenting you the opportunity to grow through clinical visiting fellowships. These are my disclosures. Why should you apply? This program aims to train young clinicians by visiting centers of excellence in gastroenterology. Through this, they can open windows of opportunity for scientific and research collaboration, and it also helps you to evolve and practice more of the techniques to which you would not have access in your hometown. Especially for clinicians who come from economically disadvantaged countries, this is a great opportunity because they have the opportunity to practice techniques to which they would not have access in their hometown and to bring back information and new techniques. Also, this program is not only for professional development, but also for personal development because it helps you to be well prepared for the future endeavors. Which are the basics? First of all, 30 clinicians, 40 fellows will be allowed to go for 2 weeks in another center. Through this, they get 1,250 euros that would cover costs and the living costs, and free registration to the next UEG week after the finish of the fellowship, of course. The application this year will be opening in November, so stay tuned on our website, ueg.eu opportunities. Who can apply? This fellowship would be available for all clinicians, even if we talk about the clinical, surgical, imagistic gastroenterologists, or if we talk about the hepatologists. The applicants must have under 40 years of age, they have to be fluent in English, and they have to reside in Europe or the Mediterranean area. And they have to have completed at least 1 year of clinical training. How to apply? You have certain things that you have to fill in. Application form. The application form should contain all personal contact details, and it should mention the top 3 hospitals where you want to practice. The list will be made online by the UEG, so visit the website beforehand. The CV should contain a maximum of 5 peer-reviewed publications, and it should also consist of your language skills, so we have to know which language you speak. The motivation letter is essential because we want to know which is your area of expertise, what would you like to learn, what would you want to take back to your home country, and how would you like to apply it. The letter of the recommendation from the head of the department has to contain the contact details of the person recommending the candidate. It should imply also the extent of knowledge the candidate has, the experience he has, and it must always contain the approval for the leave of absence if the fellowship is approved. And in certain selected cases, the confirmation of childcare responsibilities if we are talking about extending the limit age for main carriers. The CV recommendation letter and motivation letter must not exceed 3 pages, so be very careful about it. So when we apply, if you enter the UEG page, you go to the education and then to the clinical visiting fellowships. And on the clinical visiting fellowship webpage, you go and you have all the information needed. So you have to stay tuned in November for this webpage where you will see all the application criteria. The selection process, all applications will be reviewed by Young Talent Group members. And we are actually looking for some basic criteria checklists. So we want to see your experience and your CV. We want to see your motivation letter, so that is essential for us because we want to see what would you like to learn in a different center of excellence in gastroenterology, and how would you like to take back all the information you are learning in another center? How would you apply it afterwards? The letter of recommendation is also important. And after we make a rank with the top 30 candidates, we select these and we allocate this to different centers. This year we have 68 host centers who have filled in the form and want to receive fellows in Europe. So stay tuned on our website. After that, centers must approve the candidates, and after that we notify the applicants. But this is not over. After you finish the fellowship, you have to report. So you have within 1 month after your stay in the visiting fellowship, you have to write a written report from the participant, and also, of course, a complete feedback from the participant and also from the center, so that we have an overall feedback. This, after we have received the complete report, you will have a free registration to the next UEG week. These are different photos with the fellows who have successfully applied and filled in the application for the visiting fellowships. There are some top tips actually when wanting to select a host center. So you should also bear in mind the language barrier, because there are different centers where you should also speak a different language, not only English. So be very careful when you pick that center. Also, you should be very careful about what you want and which is your area of expertise, because maybe you don't want to go to the most the top center, but more to a hands-on center. So be very careful when you select a clinical fellowship host center. Thank you very much, and we are looking forward for your application. Visit us also on social media.
So I have a question about the clinical fellowship that came up. What do you do if you want to stay for longer than 2 weeks? You enjoy it so much, the team enjoys your presence so much that you want to stay longer. How do we deal with that, Catalina?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So on the UEG website, each center lists its specifications, and you can learn there everything about that center. So you can see the learning environment, and you can see the task requirements. What can you do there? If you can participate in the hands-on, if you can participate in the meetings, and then requirements for the candidate. And there you can there is specified if you have to know English or if you have to know other language. For example, there are certain centers that require that you know English and German language. And in the end, there's an organizational requirement where it's specified that you can stay over 2 weeks. Usually you can prolong it up to 6 months. I know I did when I had a visiting fellowship.
And how long did you stay with the visiting fellowship? Did you stay longer?
Yeah, I stay. The requirement is at minimum of 2 weeks, but I stayed 2 months in Niederspittal in Switzerland. So, and I enjoyed it a lot. I could have, yeah, I stayed in Bern. It was an amazing experience, and I could see also hepatology and gastrointestinal endoscopy. So, for me, it was amazing.
Very good. And Eglė, can you tell us a little bit about your experience during the clinical fellowship?
Well, it was excellent. I'm very, very grateful to UEG first of all, and then to the mentor, Dr. Massimiliano Di Pietro. I was in Cambridge, and now I'm back home. I think the main point is to know what you want to get from your fellowship, and then just to apply to the center that has the best capabilities to provide with what you want, actually. So I applied only to centers that offered specialties in oncology, and I was selected for Cambridge University Hospital that specializes in upper GI oncology and research. So I got to see everything from basic science to clinical practice. I got to complete a study with them, and we're waiting a manuscript from that. So I think for UEG fellowship to work the best, you have to know what you want, find the place that can give it to you, and take everything that you can.
And so you were able to take quite a lot of stuff away from your fellowship. So you only stayed 2 weeks. Or
Yeah,
did you
but
stay longer?
No, initially we thought that I could stay for a month, but due to COVID, it had to be restricted. And I think you have to adjust your expectations due to COVID. But actually, my day was packed from 8 in the morning to 8 in the afternoon. So, yeah.
You got a
seen a lot,
handful.
done a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, the realities of COVID are, of course, very important for everyone who wants to take the clinical fellowship. But from what we can see here, it seems like those burdens can be overcome. I know, Eglė, that you had to stay in quarantine for 2 weeks after you returned from the fellowship, didn't you? But it was definitely worth it from what I gather.
Sure, and I'm really grateful for the hosting center because they had to make some accommodations for me and a lot of paperwork and yeah, incredibly good hosting center, highly recommended.
Perfect. So we had a couple of other questions from just from the questions blog, and another question was if you if you apply and you want to do hands-on, whether that might be a burden. Catalina, you want to comment on that?
Sure. Every center specifies if you can do hands-on or not. So you have to check very well exactly which center you want to go. Maybe not always go for the big centers and look for smaller centers who can offer hands-on. That would be an idea. But you have to know which is your area of interest. If your area of interest is hands-on and the center specifies that it does not offer that, then you should check it out of the list and pick another one, because we have 68 host centers this year, so you have a lot of ground to fill.
So what would be your so this goes to Eglė and Catalina because you've done the fellowship. What was your magic trick to get a good application in? What did you do to make your application stick?
I think you have to be very careful about the motivation letter, and because we always want to know what do you want to go with, what would you want to go back, and how can you apply it back home. And your CV must never exceed 1 page because you're out of the list either way. And if you want to stay for more than 2 weeks, and either way, your head of the department has to approve it, because if you want to prolong it for 6 months, for example, we have to make sure that your head of the department is okay with it. But I think the application letter, the motivation letter, is essential for us.
So a clear-cut goal, as Eglė said, like a very,
yes.
very clear and realistic idea what you can achieve in I mean, 2 weeks is a very short period of time, but the more it is, therefore it's very important to have a good idea what you can achieve in a 2-week clinical fellowship. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay.